didn't know I wasn't going to have a microphone, so one moment, that threw me off. I just want to take a moment and just thank everyone for being here. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Anne Marie. Does anybody in here not know who I am? Hello. All right, so obviously we're not here for me, we're here for George. George gave me some very specific instructions on how he wanted his memorial service to go and how he wanted his passing to go. Last night we had a service for the family only where we did bring his body in here, and it was quite nice to have his body back in the building. As many of you know, George has not been in the building in this room in any capacity in quite some time, so it was nice to have his body back in here, and it gave his family an opportunity to see him looking better than he did the last couple of weeks, because he really was not well. Anyway, and then he requested that today, he didn't want the body to be here because he didn't want you all to be attached to his body. He wanted you to remember him. And he also didn't want you to remember him with sorrow. He wanted you to remember him with the vigor and love that he portrayed so well. So this evening, what he also requested is he didn't want everyone to come like an open mic. I've received several emails and texts, people sending me their stuff, wanting me to say it for them. That's not happening. So he actually only asked, yes, sir?
Excuse me, but the audio isn't working in the overflow room.
Yeah, we know, we lost the audio. So you're just gonna tell everyone, if there's anyone in there, please invite them to come on in here. Thank you.
We're working on it.
Okay. I actually wrote notes to remind me so I don't forget what I wanted to say. But anyway, this evening what he wanted to do, he only had specific individuals that he would like to come up and speak on his behalf. Those are the only ones who are going to speak. Linda Schulten, unfortunately, is out of town, but we do have a video of her. So we're going to play her so you all can hear her and see her words as well. The thing I want to mention tonight, if you just take a moment and look around the room and look at each other, I'm sure you've been connecting with old friends. But I think that we're a very small representation of the many lights that that George ignited, that we're all little flickers of his work. And you spread out your light in your life. And just think of how many thousands of people have been affected by George. Not just by coming into this room, but by being associated with you and the people that you talk to, and the ones that you connect with and who they connect with as well. So I think that this is a good collection, young and old, literally young and old, as well as old-timers and new individuals who have just recently graduated from our most recent class. We also put the memorial on a Tuesday because George did not want to interfere in the Omega schedule. We have an Omega 1 that starts this Thursday, and we will proceed this Thursday in this room. So that's why, typical George, just to leave it the way he did it. I wanted to take a moment, and many of you should have gotten the memorial cards in your hands. Many of you know that George's favorite passage was the Great Invocation. He considered that to be a very high vibration prayer. And I wanted to start this evening out with all of us reciting it aloud together, if you wouldn't mind. So you all should have that with you. Anybody not having one in their hand? Andrea's got some in the back as well. All right, so if you would like to just picturing George in your mind that you're saying this to him. Actually, I don't have one in my hand either. Thank you. It is on now? Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. Sorry. I turned it off. Testing 1, 2, 3. Wait. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm just gonna, Joe, you can keep working on it. I'm just gonna keep going. Sorry. Susan has the magic touch. Is that working now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Wow. Thanks, Leah. All right, I'm just gonna flip the switch One more time, Joe. I'm not going to be underneath the microphone. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Leave that one where it is. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Nothing. I'm just going to leave it on in case it kicks in. All right.
Well, you blew the amp last time.
If you would, it's on the right-hand side. That's what we're going to read aloud. So, excuse me, the left-hand side. It's called the Great Invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. May light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let the purpose guide the little wills of men. The masters which the masters serve. From the center, which we call a race of man, let the plan work out, and may it seal the doors where evil dwells. Let light, love, and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you. I want to just see if I can, thanks Mike, I've got it on now, I can hear it. I want to see if I can just stick with what I wanted to say so I don't feel as if I've overlooked anything. This evening, of course, I don't need to tell you what an incredible human being George was. Many of you already know that. I got a little echo, Joe. There's no need for me to speak about the immeasurable contribution that he made to humanity. We already know that. I also have no need to speak about George as my best friend and the work that we've done together, standing side by side in the room, in our life, and the family that we shared. His grandchildren are my daughters, for those of you who don't know that, so that's how we're connected. But if I talked about that, that would really just be about me, and that's not what I want to do this evening. The one thing that George wished to express is he wanted to make sure that all of you knew how he passed, because George was very adamant in making sure everyone greeted death just as you greeted life. I feel blessed that I was there the moment he passed. He did it beautifully, and I believe he did it so that I could pass this on to you, so that you would have an inspiration on how to pass beautifully as he did as well. A few months ago, George slipped into a coma, and I thought he was going to be gone, but then he rebounded. And then he slipped away and rebounded again. He did this rebounding for quite some time, and I honestly did not know when he was coming or going. So I had contacted his sons and asked if they would come and see him and speak to him while he was still conscious. And that pretty much was the last time he was all here. He spent the last remaining days sleeping, very peacefully. He fell and broke his hip 2 weeks ago and spent a week in the hospital, and then when he got home, he was in a hospital bed, and we pretty much knew that was it. He didn't want to die in a hospital. He wanted to die at home. So we brought him home, and he tossed and turned, not with the idea of in pain, but the idea that he was ready to go. And he'd wake up and be disappointed that he was still here. Those are the things that I experienced. The last 5 days, he did not open his eyes. He slept very peacefully, very calmly. On the last day, his granddaughter came over, Leah, who had a very close bond with. And I had been spending the whole day with him, facing him, and we had just rotated him again, so Leah was facing him. And I am not kidding you, this is the truth. Leah and I were both on our phones trying to find out what was the final sign of life. Is it the breath or the heartbeat? So we're surfing the web, finding, and then we're like, oh, what's the smallest organ? Oh, what's this? And like we've got all these little fun facts going on. And then Leah said, Anne-Marie, Grandpa's opening his eyes. And I looked over, and sure enough. And she goes, hi, Grandpa. And I knew he was back. So I quickly ran around the other side of the bed, and he was smiling. And he opened his eyes completely and fully with a big, huge smile, looked directly at Leah and I, and took a last breath, and then closed his eyes. And Leah said, is that it? Is he gone? Is he gone? And so then he opened his eyes again, one more time, smiled again, and looked at us. And as he closed his eyes the second time, I watched his eyes grow dim, as if his soul was leaving. And as his eyes went down, his eyes got dimmer and dimmer until he closed his eyes again, and I knew he was gone. And it was so beautiful. There was no pain. There was no stress. He died smiling. And what I felt that moment was joy. True joy. Like he taught us how to pass. And I've always heard people say that the body is just the shell, that it supports and holds the spirit. And I've even said that myself. But that day, watching his soul leave and holding that body confirmed to me that George still existed, that I was just holding a vehicle that held his spirit. That truly was quite beautiful to see. And I almost regretted, not morbidly, but I almost regretted not videotaping it for you so you would have that experience of watching him so beautifully leave. But I think just by me saying it to you, you probably have a good picture of what it was like. And since that day, I do not have any sadness because all I do is close my eyes and I see him. And he is alive. For those of old timers, you'll remember this. George always used to go, "Yay!" Remember that? He'd kick his leg up and cross his hands and do that little laugh. That is the way I've been seeing him lately. So it's like he's happy now and he's not trapped in that body. I was very grateful and honored to be there, and truly grateful and honored that Leah was there, because quite honestly, I was very worried about Leah. She doesn't handle death very well. And of all people to pick, she was the one that was there, and she handled it beautifully as well. So I'm very grateful that you got to share that moment with me. Plus, we have a good connection too. But again, it's not about me. So, with that, what I want to do then is just going to pass this off to the people that George had requested to speak on his behalf. So we're just going to transfer the microphone. And as I said, Linda Schulten has a video. She's going to share that. And once this is over, we thought it would be a nice idea for those of you who remember George loved carrot cake. And every Omega-2 we had carrot cake for him. So we have 2 sheets of carrot cake that we're going to open up and let you enjoy his favorite dessert with each other, and take as long as you want to share memories with each other. You can stay in this room if you'd like to, or just anywhere that you'd like to be in the building, just to spend some time with each other and him. So I will be back actually, because I have a lot more to say once I'm done, but I'm going to go ahead now and pass it off to Nicole. Nicole has been with us. Her mother has told her that Coral and Rick went through the class when Nicole was 4 years old. So George has been influencing Nicole's life since she was 4. Nicole started facilitator training when she was 16 and has been with us ever since, for those of you who do not know Nicole. So I'm going to bring her up right now and have you do your thing. Your tissues are right under here.
Leave it to George, even in his passing still, pushing us to take risks and to do things that make us uncomfortable. It is my honor to be here with you guys tonight. And it is very exciting that I get to celebrate this with you. Because the fact that, I'm going to have to just read. The fact that you are here means that you knew George, or you knew his work, or you knew someone that knew him. And that in itself is truly a blessing. I know that this is bold of me to say, but this world was made better because George Addair lived in it. George was the most selfless person that I ever knew. He always had his focus on humanity. Even a few weeks ago when I saw him, I said, "How you doing?" And he looked at me like I had just asked him the stupidest question. And he simply responded, "I hadn't even thought about it." And that was George. He never thought of himself. It was always about others. He loved unconditionally, and he taught others to do the same. He taught us that the goal is not to receive love or even to experience love, but the goal is to give love and ultimately to become love. And that, to me, was George. He was love. I asked several people who didn't know him as well, and what were the words that came to them when they thought about George. And they would say things like, he was the kindest man I ever knew. That there was an underlying current. It was always a heart-to-heart connection. That he radiated love. And that was George. He was love. He talked about the country song by Toby Keith, I Love This Bar. It was one of his favorites because he said it reminded him of Omega. And for those of you who don't know the lyrics, it's a song that talks about how there are winners and losers, chain smokers and boozers, rednecks, cowboys, you name it. Everyone was welcome in this bar. No cover charge, come as you are. And that, to him, was Omega. He loved you as you were. He taught us about death, that it's a part of life and that through death we are set free. And I know that some of us feel like we've lost our teacher. But he taught us that we would eventually have to leave him and to not search outside ourselves for the answers. That your master lives inside of you. Now, those of us who knew him personally, we're going to miss him. So when you miss him. And let those memories of him continue to inspire you and help you reach towards your divine nature. Because I think that that would be the best way to honor his work. His illness, his death, are nothing but events. We have a blank moment right now, and we can choose to experience it any way we want to. I choose inspiration and a rededication to the principles he taught of love, service, integrity, and sacrifice. It is a big task to talk about George in words, because I could stand here all night and try to reiterate his teachings to you, and I could list for hours adjectives that describe his character. But my words will never do him justice. So I want to leave you with his words. I found this invitation that he wrote in 2002 when we reopened in this building. And so from him, his gratitude for all of you. Thanks for the past. We have a common past in the work. And as we move to do it again, I express my gratitude for the years that have passed. By lending a helping hand, we became partners in the work and touched the heart of a planet. What is done cannot be undone. The work lasts for all time. Thanks for the future. We have a common future. Even if we never see each other again, we hold an equal share to the fruits of Omega and Delta. We have no control over this, for what is shared cannot be unshared. We share a common awakening. Our future was cast when we changed our inner direction together, and we created a unity of purpose. Unity breaks the chains of singularity And most of us came to the classroom as me,